very scary this evening, George.
We could forget.
Take your teeth out, George, and then I can speak to you.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm dressed up like Dracula, Dad, because we're going to go out trick or treating with Mum later.
What are those noises?
They're the sort of scary noises. I've just been practicing the noises we're going to be making tonight. Is that chocolate you've got there?
Yes. I haven't had any chocolate for absolutely ages, so I just thought I'd, whilst you're out trick or treating, I just thought I'd have a little bar, just for myself. You had one earlier, so and you'll no doubt be stuffing your face later with whatever you get this evening. So,
Looks really nice.
Well, keep your eye off it, George, because this one's mine. So they're the noises you're making, are they, George? Sounds a bit like a cow, George. Doesn't sound very scary.
Can you do a scary cow, Dad?
Scary cow? Let's think.
That just sounds like a cow. What about a chicken? Can you do a scary chicken?
Scary chicken?
Well, that just sounds like a chicken. I think this is a scary chicken, Dad. This is scary.
Doesn't sound like your chicken's very well, George.
What about a scary duck?
Scary duck. Go quack 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 quack.
Just sounds like what about this? This is a scary duck, Dad.
Oh, that's very good. Oh, yeah, cool. That's very...
What about a scary dog, Dad? Scary dog.
Oh, yes, scary dog.
Yeah, that's quite scary, but I think mine's... Listen to this. This is really scary, Dad. This is really...
Oh, yes. Good Lord. Yes, anyway, you won't be doing any of those noises because you'll want to kind of be doing more Halloweeny noises, won't you? Sort of, howling and things like that. Whilst you don't want to scare the neighbours, George, do you? So, where's your mum?
Oh, she's getting ready.
So, what's she going to be dressed up as then?
I think she's going to wear like a tall sort of pointed hat and a white face and then she's going to stick a pointed nose on and yeah, she's going to look really scary.
Sounds like just a normal night out with her friends, George.
That's not funny, Dad.
No, you're absolutely. Where are you going?
I think I'm going to tell Mum you said that. That's not very funny about Mum going out with her.
I was joking, George. That was just between you and me. Come back to just you.
I won't tell her, Dad, if you give me that chocolate.
Good Lord, are you serious?
Well, it looks a bit big for just you. If you give it to me, and then I will just give you what I leave.
Well, you're going trick or treating later.
Oh well, I'll have to tell Mum what you said.
Don't you go. Right, fine. Here it is. Oh, really? Good Lord.
Thanks, Dad.
So, George, how did your trick or treating go this evening?
Well, next door gave us some bonbons.
Oh, good.
Mrs. Gibbs gave me a sherbet fountain. Mr. Hobbs gave Trini a packet of crisps. And Mrs. Hollins told Mum that if we didn't get off her grass, she would call the police.
Good Lord.
Miss Davis with the red car gave us loads. And the bald man with the purple car gave Sebastian an empty packet of Maltesers. And Oscar was bitten by his dog. Guess what his dog's called?
Oh, I have no idea.
Grief. He's called Grief, Dad. What does that mean, Grief?
Well, by the sound of it, means he lives up to his name, George. To help keep this podcast alive and kicking, any money you choose to donate to Me and My Dad will be put straight into George's education fund. Go to patreon.com/meandmydad. And thank you.
Yeah, thanks, but does it have to go in my education fund, Dad? Can't I have it now?
George, really?
Dad,
Yeah?
do you want to hear a funny... Do you want to hear a very scary story?
What?
Do you want to hear a very scary story? Very scary story.
Sorry, George, I don't know what you're saying with those vampire teeth in. Can you take those out and then I might understand what you're saying?
Sorry. Do you, Dad?
Yes?
Do you want to hear a really scary Halloween story?
I'd love to, yes. Shall I just sit down? Let me just get comfortable. Oh, I'm looking forward to this then. Is it one of your scary ones, is it?
Oh, yes.
Right, I'm all comfortable. I'm all waiting with bated breath. Here we go then, George. Tell me your Halloween story.
Well, George...
That's you.
No, just a boy called George. His name is the same as me, but it's not me. George and his friend Trini.
Like your friend Trini.
Well, she's the same. It's got the same name, but it's not actually Trini. And Sebastian, his friend Sebastian.
Like your friend Sebastian.
Dad, they just happen to have all the same names as my friends, but they're not just people in the story. Are you listening?
Of course I'm listening, George. Carry on.
So George, Trini, Sebastian and Holly were going trick-or-treating in the evening, or it was a Tuesday night.
Right.
And on their way to trick-or-treating, they passed this really old house on a hilltop.
Oh.
And George, who's really brave, and he really is really strong and does things like the other kids don't always do. He doesn't mind doing things. Do you know what I mean, Dad?
Oh, I do, George, I do.
Anyway, he said to Trini, his friend, and Sebastian and Holly, he said, tonight, before we go trick-or-treating, do you want to go to the spooky house on the hill?
And what did they say?
Well, each one of them said, no, it's all right, George. We'll go some other time. And George said, no, let's go now, because I think someone said, some old person at the end of the road said, never go in that house, because at the top of that house there is like real vampires living there.
Right, and did you not you, but did did the group go?
Well, Sebastian didn't really want to go, and Holly was saying, oh, I'd rather go trick-or-treating, and Trini said, no, come on, guys, let's go with George. George, you go in front and we'll follow you. So they followed George up the creepy pathway through the gate, which went like this. It went like this. And they went through it, and then they closed it afterwards, because you should always close the gates afterwards, shouldn't you, Dad?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great gate closing noise you do there, George.
Thanks. And they went up the pathway, and there were like spiders' webs on the pathway, and it was getting darker and darker, and the moonlight was shining down so they could see where they were going. And they got to the bottom of the steps that were leading up to the big front door.
And what did they do then?
Well, Trini said, "Are you sure you want to go in the house, George?" And George said, "Yeah, listen, there's no one living there, but I just want to check out if the story about vampires is true. Come on, guys. You're as brave as me. I know I'm the bravest, but you can be brave like me. Let's go in together." So they all went up the steps one by one, and there was like this wind blowing across the steps. And as they got up to the top of the steps, he had his hand, George there, had his hand on the front door knob, and he turned it. And it opened up. It was a really big door. And inside it was really dark, Dad. Really dark. And there were cobwebs everywhere. It was like really spooky. But they didn't mind. They didn't mind as they went into the house, and somebody said, "Do you think we should shut," I think it was Sebastian, "do you think we should shut the door behind us because we shut the gate?" And Trini said, "No, I don't think we should shut the door just in case we have to run out really quickly." And they all agreed, and George said, "Right, come on, follow me up the steps." And then they went up the steps onto the first landing. That's the sound of the steps. And they got to the first landing, and there was this really funny noise, that sort of really kind of like a ghostly noise that came over the landing and through the landing. Oh, it was really scary. And then, when they got to the landing, there were some more steps, and Trini said, "Sebastian, you look a bit scared. Shall we just go home now?" And Sebastian said, "No, I'm fine. What about you, Holly?" And Holly said, "No, she's fine." So George said, "Right, let's carry on." Suddenly, there was a funny noise coming from upstairs. But they were really brave, and they stuck together like one really close, like gang of people sticking together as they went up the next load of steps. All the steps were really old, and they kept making funny noises. And they got to the top, and then there in front of them was this big door, and George whispered, he said, "That, guys, is where the vampires live." "How do you know?" said Sebastian. "Keep your voice down," said George. "Keep your voice down." "How do you know that vampires are in that room and not in other rooms?" "Because," George said, "the old man told him." He pointed up at that room at the front of the house. And they walked forward, and then they went into the room. The door was really big, like the front door. And suddenly there was this massive noise. And it was just a load of pigeons up there, Dad, load of pigeons. And I know you're a pigeonist, but I think even you would have been scared. Dad, where have you gone? Dad? Dad? Oh, there you are, Dad.
Oh, God, good grief, don't just creep up on me like that, George.
Didn't you want to hear the end of the story, Dad?
Well, yeah.
Did it scare you?
No, it was very scary, George, very scary. But I actually had to, I had to put a wash on.
A wash? You didn't listen to the end of the story though, about the vampires.
Well, were there any vampires in the top room?
No, Dad, they were just pigeons. It was just a tale. Somebody said they were vampires, but I think they were just joking. It was just an old empty house with a load of pigeons in the top room, in the attic.
Oh, good Lord! Thank goodness for that. Well, I thought as much. I thought the idea of vampires being up there was a bit far fetched. Good Lord, good story though, George. Good story. Really, really scary.
Did it scare you, Dad?
Oh yes, it did. And with you in that vampire outfit, it really did the trick, George. Really did the trick.
Oh, good. I can't wait to tell you another scary story, Dad, when I've thought of one.
Oh, that's fine. Take your time, George. No rush. Right, I'll just go and get the old socks and put them in the machine. Okay. See you in a minute, George.
Yeah. See ya, Dad. See you in a minute.
Me and My Dad is an open fridge production produced by Alex Castle and Mungo Pierce. Music is by Michael Ball. All sketches written and performed by Thomas Kett.